Aries, hi. Welcome to your summer shape shift, where we take a look at the shape you're shifting out of, the shape you're shifting into, and what that shape shift looks and feels like for the summer season. I'm Amanda, I'm your reader. Let's get into it. We're using the Spolia Tarot today. And let's start by looking at the shape you're shifting out of. Okay. Aries shape shift for the summer season. Or whenever you find this reading. Okay, oh, okay. We have two cards face down and one face up. It looks like this on my table. That face up card is the Magician, and it feels like a welcome card. Okay. Gorgeous. Let's take a look. It looks to me like you're shifting out of this Scorpio energy into the Magician through the Page of Cups. Ooh, this is nice. Let's take a look at this first. So if you're shifting out of Scorpio and into the Magician, especially when I look at what is on this Scorpio card, it's the underworld. We have this wide open, broken open pomegranate, and these two eyes leading down to a scorpion caught in a sticker bush. The card is blood red, and it makes me think of the Scorpio lunar eclipse, which was a blood moon that we just had here on May 15th, 16th, 2022. So in the spring season, but since we're looking at summer, it's like essentially hot off the heels of that Scorpio blood moon eclipse. Perhaps something was really broken open for you at that time. Maybe there was some sort of insight to be seen. And you know, the last few Aries readings, especially this previous spring reading, which was Restless Legs, it was really about wanting to move, but feeling like all of the elements are against you, you know, and feeling like you want to go fast, but for whatever reason, the weather or the forces at large are forcing you to go slower. And that does feel like a little bit of a metaphorically underworld experience, being sort of forced underground when all you want to do is sprout. It's like, no, there's more roots to grow. There, you know, I'm looking at the red. It's this color of just like depth, and when I think of blood, I think of this just like internal life force that is not usually seen, which reminds me of that sort of scorpionic experience of this rich, alive, deep, and intense inner experience that isn't necessarily always shared on the external. You know, Scorpio energy has a bit of a mysterious air to it because there's so much going on inside. And usually it only really comes out the eyes. You know, if you know any Scorpio risings, there can be this like piercing eyeball situation, at least with some of the folks I know. So Aries, in the last reading, there was this thing about like, if you slow down, there's something you might see here. And I'm just wondering about that Taurus Scorpio eclipse cycle that was started in April, May, and what that may have revealed to you. Even if you may have felt like you were stuck in the sticker bush for a while. And it looks painful, you know? Scorpio energy is not necessarily soft. There is obviously softness here and nuance, but Scorpios can have edge, like a lot of edge. And that is partly what I'm seeing here, is that the beauty of having that edge is it's the edge that is sometimes necessary to break something open. Like I'm looking at a pomegranate. Pomegranates are not easy nuts to crack, you know, they're a difficult fruit to penetrate, but here it is, broken wide open. It's kind of hot. Aries. And in that opening, in maybe like the painful spot was the opening. The thing needed to crack you wide open, and then you saw something there. Something perhaps really transformative, because it looks to me like you're coming up for air. I mean, the progression goes like this: underworld, and then traveling, you know, like swimming up through the cave with the Page of Cups. It's almost like you're down in the underworld and you've gotten something really important that you needed, which is showing as these two tulips. And now you're swimming up through those deep, fixed scorpionic waters, the cave of that like deep underground, underworld internal network, swimming up through the Page of Cups, which to me is like an experience of emotional sincerity and innocence and earnestness, maybe. Like there's something very emotionally genuine about the Page of Cups that maybe you were able to access, or you are able to access through the summer season, because you have been perhaps quite recently through this eclipse cycle broken open. And that vulnerability of the Page of Cups is able to emerge now, that pomegranate or that scorpion is open to that kind of vulnerability. I mean, here we see that person just like chest open, and the shape of them, we are looking at a shape shift spread after all. So if you're shifting from this like coiled, trapped scorpion into this like half sea creature, half human, the flow becomes this like, okay, so maybe you're finding a little more emotional ease and emotional flow through that vulnerability, and you let that carry you up to the surface. And I say that because the Magician here is surrounded by bubbles. And it looks like that buoyancy, that emotional vulnerability is the buoyancy you need to carry you back up to the surface, where you can start making things again, you know, like where you can start making things happen, because the Magician is very much in the tangible world. Like the Magician wants to get in the laboratory and start creating, or get in the studio and start making things, roll up their sleeves and say, what can I create with my life? What can I create in this situation? And the Magician has all of the elements at their disposal, to make magic. But it's almost like, Aries, you had to go down and get that emotional vulnerability. You know, it's almost like this like fish person has got the cups element. You went down into that Scorpio, those deep Scorpio waters, or the scorpionic depths of that cave system, and you found these two tulips growing there. And you softened You know, like look at the harshness and the edge and then the softening. It's like you softened enough to be able to, you have to be soft to carry tulips through the water and up to the surface and keep them intact. So it's almost like through the thicket. Thinking of the snowstorm in your last reading. Through the thicket, which is actually sharp and dense, you found a softening that cracked you open. And it's that kind of softness and vulnerability that you need to find buoyancy, which would then create these like bubbles, which I'm seeing as bubble wrap, interesting, to levitate you or carry you, float you back up to the surface where you can breathe the air again and actually, breath of fresh air and the resources and ability, momentum, motivation, etc., the clearance essentially to begin creation or to get back in a more active space. Ooh, Aries, I love this reading for you. We're gonna dive deeper now and start to clarify these cards. Maybe you want to join me for that. I'm going to be using some other decks here, and we're going to start clarifying this shapeshift for you and get into it. So if you want to join me there for your full reading, the link is in the description to join the shifting space where you will have access to the full reading and a whole community experience of shape shifting through the seasons. So I hope you join me there. Talk to you soon.